Welcome to the Dougherty County Board of Commissioners meeting with your chairman, Christopher S. Cohilas. Your commissioners include, from District 1, Commissioner Ed Newsom. From District 2, Commissioner Victor Edwards. From District 3, Commissioner Clinton Johnson. From District 4, Commissioner Russell Gray. From District 5, Commissioner Gloria Gaines. And from District 6, Commissioner Anthony Jones. Also joining us is your County Administrator, Michael McCoy, Assistant County Administrator, Scott Addison, County Clerk, Juwan Ware, and County Attorney, Spencer Lee. Thank you for joining your Dougherty County Commission meeting.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Go ahead and call to order the Dougherty County Work Session for May 24th, 2021. Begin with a roll call and note for the record that all commissioners are present in person. Move on to the minutes. Minutes of the May 10th work session. Any comments, questions, or discussion? There being none, let's move on to delegations. This is where the commission will hear comments on those items pertaining to Dougherty County for which a public hearing has not been held or scheduled. We ask everyone to be brief, to the point, and considerate of time for others. And our first presenter is Scott Steiner, President and CEO of Phoebe Putney Health System, who is present to provide a check in the amount of $5,000 to the 2021 Albany Dougherty Youth Unit Summer Camp. And also we have Captain Ted Thomas from the Sheriff's Office, Assistant Chief Tatisha Irving from Dougherty County Police, and Assistant Chief Daryl Smith on behalf of APD, who are present to accept the award. Good morning, Mr. Steiner.
All right, good morning. Thank you, Mr.
Very
Chairman.
good.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. May I make a few words before Mr.
Yes,
Steiner begins?
please, Commissioner Johnson.
Mr. Steiner, thank you for allowing me to intervene just one moment. I just want to set the tone that this commission has been dedicated to working with our youth and making sure that, the good life city becomes a great life city. And at times when there are shortages, we appreciate the partnership that our corporate sponsors, our corporate partnerships offer. And I just want to commend you for seeing the need for the funding and jumping up as fast as you did and became involved in the situation, and you made sure that you found out what the needs were and you met those needs. Thank you, sir, for your commitment to our community.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson.
Agreed. Good morning, Mr. Steiner. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you all. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today for just a couple minutes. And we just want to support certainly anything going on in our community as it relates to our youth. This has been a tough 15 months for everyone in our community. Businesses, our folks at home, certainly our health system, and we know our youth and have been affected, and we just don't know in what ways. And I think that any opportunity that we can have to support them in a summer program or any other programming, we need to be part of that because they need that physical health support, that mental, that emotional health support. And we know an investment today is a cost avoidance down the road, and especially in the healthcare system. We don't want to see these youth in any other ways, whether it be our emergency room or anywhere else. So to me, this is an easy opportunity for us to get involved, and not only today, but we want to make sure we're doing that in the future. So Commissioner Johnson, thank you for those kind words. Chairman, thank you as well for the opportunity, and thanks to our commission, to the city and their partnership, and please reach out to us in any way that we can continue to do this in the future.
Absolutely, and thank you very much for your corporate partnership. Do we have someone here that's here to accept the check?
We don't write these big checks at the hospital for all vendors.
All right, very good. Yeah, this guy's good then.
Hold on one moment. You have some other people.
There you go, man.
Keep them coming.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have Greg Parks with Red Speed USA, present to discuss an automated school zone safety program in Dougherty County. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Commission, Chief. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I will say that's a tough act to follow. And no, I was going to be following somebody.
Where's your check?
I know. If I'd only known. But in all seriousness, thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's a very brief presentation. The police had asked us to come and try and articulate the benefits of our program for you all. It's a few slides, and then I'm sure it'll engender some questions. So thank you.
Thank you.
I can figure out how to work those. Here we go. Okay, so the important thing, this is a school zone safety program. These are cameras which generate a lot of interest when the subject comes up. So it's important to note, these are only in front of the schools. So these are designed to dramatically improve safety in your school zones, in which you have a number. It's an extremely fair law. I'll go through it. It was passed in 2018 by the legislature. There's a number of communities throughout Georgia using this, over 50. In fact, Albany is using these now. So I'll talk about that.
And Mr. Parks, just so you know, masks are optional. So
Okay.
if you want to, and I believe that policy change has happened here recently. It's consistent with what's being done across the country and best practices in light of the number of vaccinations. And I saw that the other day. So
Thank you,
if it makes it a
Chairman.
little bit easier to talk.
Probably make it easier to understand.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So as I said, one of the things that without speaking for the police, but police throughout the state have been interested in addition to the most important benefit of reducing speeding in school zones, and no departments have enough officers, from the biggest department to the smallest, to be in the school zones every school day. It's just a fact with the way budgets are, personnel. It's hard to find good officers anyway. They need. So this can use technology to augment that and also provide some valuable safety tools. These cameras will allow the police real time to monitor an incident in the school zone from their desk, from their car, from their laptop, from their phone. If there is an incident from something as benign as a small crash to, God forbid, something worse, that is saved on tape, and the police can use that for investigations, all at no cost to you all. Anytime I talk to the commissioner, I probably start with that. There's no out-of-pocket cost to you all at all. Why do this? Georgia, unfortunately, ranks 36 out of 51. That's 50 states plus Puerto Rico in school zone safety. It's a growing state. People are moving here. There's a lot of traffic. And one thing we've noticed throughout the state, a lot of the school zones, and I believe some in Dougherty County, I know some in Albany, are on big roads, state highways, heavily trafficked roads. So speeding is just, it's a terrible problem, and it's not any reflection on your excellent police department. We have to do a study for GDOT to document there's a problem. They have to approve this. And we see tests thousands of speeders a day. And that will go down by half and then half again if we're fortunate enough that you implement this program. But that's a problem we're trying to solve. Speeding in Georgia, and unfortunately Dougherty County, is an issue. So to help solve this, the legislature passed this bill in 2018. It's House Bill 978. GDOT took about a year to promulgate their rules, so it's been in operation about 2 years now. Again, very fair law, statewide, but only for city and county commissions that enable the legislation. Make the determination you want to do it for your citizens, so it's your call. It's only in school zones. It's only during days schools in session. So it's not a gotcha. Nobody on Saturday night speeding from the school is going to get a ticket. The idea could be when a child could be present in the school zone, that police are going to be able to utilize this technology to reduce speeding. There are dramatic violations you're trying to reduce. 10 miles per hour or greater over the speed limit. The police department with an officer out there can write a ticket for one. They typically don't. But the law allows for that. This law, you actually will write tickets at 11 over because radar is accurate without getting into the weeds, 1 mile per hour. So in a 25, it'd be 36 or greater during the school day. So there's a great grace period there. It's only on days schools in session, no summer, no night, et cetera, no weekends. GDOT does have to approve this along with the Dougherty County school system, which they have for the city of Albany. So there's a lot of layers here of jurisdictions concurring there is a problem to be solved. We think that adds a lot of credibility to the program. There is a 30-day warning period at the beginning, so it would be no surprise. Warning signs, flashing warning signs are placed. Slow down, photo enforcement ahead. And then there will be a big effort at public education, PSAs, print material. We'll work with you all, your communications team, and all our expense, what you'd like to get out to publicize the program. And probably something very important, all of the fine revenue that this program generates, and again, it will go down. It's not a money program. Violations will go down half and then half again as you operate the program. But all of the fine revenue must be used by the police department for public safety initiatives. It does not go to the general fund. And the legislature took that tact and passed that for at least public perception. The dangerous speed is going back into law enforcement to get more tools around the school zone to reduce speeding. So again, real simple value proposition, zero cost to you all. We put in all the equipment, maintenance, implementation, permitting. The only cost to the county, a county sworn officer will need to approve each violation. It's not a private program. So the evidence will be captured, will be sent to the PD. That officer, he or she, will approve it at their pure discretion. Nothing to do with us. No cost to you all. And again, there's going to be all these great tools I talked about earlier. License plate recognition for Amber Alerts, sex offenders in front of the school, all at no cost to you guys. And your police department, if they choose to, can share information with Albany, Leesburg, Thomasville, all our customers. So the term in policing is interoperability. But anytime at no cost, criminal that goes through Albany, you could share with Leesburg, vice versa, et cetera. Pretty powerful tool at no cost. So again, I said there's over 50 jurisdictions doing this now very successfully. We're seeing speeding reduced dramatically. Here, Albany has ran their warning program. They'll start their program when school starts, I think early August is when school starts out here. Leesburg's implemented a lot, Henry County, Duluth, Roswell, Alpharetta, a number of leading communities throughout the state. We're thrilled to be working with Albany. This is what it would look like on the side of your road. The small cabinet on the left will be the majority of your roads. It's very non-intrusive. It can be painted to be non-intrusive. And if it is a big 4 or 5 lane road, you would use this pole to the side. There's no flash, very discreet. That's a safety reason we do that. Again, it provides live streaming, archive video, ALPR to your police, and it does store all that information for 45 days. I don't know if I can play this PSA from here. Can anybody back in the room play this? If not, this is an example of a PSA we did in Alpharetta. No. Sometimes by email, they don't come across what was said. But the important point to bring out is, again, this is not going to be a surprise to your citizens if you elect to move forward with this. There's a 30-day warning period. There's signage. We'll do print material. One example is in the packet I handed out. If you want to send things home with the PTAs, if you want to have a town hall meeting, if you want PSAs, I assume maybe you have a cable channel here or some other way you communicate. We'll do whatever is needed to get the word out. Anybody that lives here should not be surprised and should know they need to go at least less than 11 miles per hour over during the day when the kids are there. So to wrap this up, I think short presentations are a good way to start a relationship. That it's absolutely going to improve school safety. As an example, some of the longest programs in the state are Henry County and Alpharetta, over around the Atlanta area. 3% of violators are getting a second ticket. Probably said better way, 97% that receive a citation do not get another one. That's amazing behavior modification for child safety. It's really fair. It's 11 over. And in this day and age, it's also viewed by many departments as a way there's some less police contacts for routine matters, and police can be freed up to do other things. All the great technology I've talked about quite a bit, but I think the police will benefit a lot from it. Again, I probably should start these, there's no cost, I'll reiterate that again. It's a revenue share, which is obviously where we get paid, but we take a small percentage of each citation that are approved by your police. And if you do elect to move forward, it might be possible to be ready for the beginning of school. GDOT is a fairly methodical organization, and they approve the permits. So it'll take 60 to 90 days, soup to nuts. But the process would be, if you elect to move forward, approve a contract at no cost. We submit the GDOT application signed by your superintendent, and I believe he or she already signed them for Albany. So apparently there's concurrence there. GDOT approval, construction, the 30-day warning period of the public education, and then the process of citations. So imagine, that's a really brief overview, but it's a pretty simple program, and I'm sure you have some questions. I'll try and answer them best I can.
Comments or questions from the commission? Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, sir. What's the ticket cost? Is that it?
$75 for the first one and $125 for any subsequent ones that a motorist would get. That's about a third to a fourth the cost of an officer written ticket in a school zone.
Okay, and also, can the footage can be used to pick up other crimes, like if it's littering or if it's a truck on the road that shouldn't be on the highway, like no truck allowed?
All that video evidence will be available to the police. I made the mistake once of talking how our system solved a crime. I was quickly corrected. The police solved the crime with our evidence. But everything from murders, a town called Vidalia, I never pronounced that correctly. I think Vidalia is correct, but they've been a customer from the get-go. And unfortunately, they had a murder down there and or over there. And our video assisted with that. It's helped around the country with carjackings. It's great evidentiary, and especially in front of the school. Hopefully, nothing's. But yes is the answer.
How far? I know the zone is 1,000 feet, but how far does the camera actually film?
The camera is really powerful. It's super high HD, so it will see hundreds of yards past the school. And in fact, what a lot of our customers do, and it's up to the police department and you all as a governing body, as I mentioned, that by law, the revenue to the county has to go back into public safety. That's in the statute. And a lot of our customers have us deploy other cameras, say into the school parking lot, or things to assist with child safety where they're at no out-of-pocket expense to them. But the first thing is the reducing speeding, but lots of other great uses, Amber Alerts. Sex offenders have been caught driving within 1,000 feet of school. They shouldn't with the cameras.
But don't we already have automated tag readers on our patrol cars?
Yeah, on the cars they would, and it's a good point. You got a great police department, but that would rely on that officer being there. This will be in front of the school 24/7, 365.
Right.
Mentioned you will only enforce speed during the day, school's in session, no nights, no weekends.
So traditionally, school zone, say, goes down from 45 to 25, like 7:30 to 8:30, and then 3 to 4.
Another hour period or 45 minutes.
Right, and it's back to 45 in the middle of the day, the lunch hour rush, that type of stuff, when kids are in school, right?
Yes, sir.
So this supersedes that and makes the speed limit 25 miles an hour all day?
No, sir. Sorry if I didn't explain that correctly. The speed limit stays the same. This system has no effect on it. It will be enforced. It's only enforced with schools in sessions. Again, no nights, no weekends again. Mm-hmm. If it was in the middle of the day and it was 45, and the reason the kids still come and go, appointments, extracurricular, et cetera, so it would be, in this example, 56 or greater during that period. And then in your reference of the 25 and the flash times would be 36 or greater. So the limit stays the same, just the threshold will be 11 over that respective limit during that school day.
And you have indicators flashing during the entire period that the cameras are active, even in that middle of the day gap?
Yeah, and signs on each side.
Signs or flashers?
Signs with flashing lights on them.
I got you. So what is the revenue share on this?
65-35, 65 to the county, 35 to us, and we incur all expenses.
Right.
Your only expense would be, and again, it makes perfect sense, an officer will need to review the violation and approve it or reject it, 100% his or her discretion.
Right.
Once that's done, we'll print and mail it.
Right. So if I have a drive-off tag or another, the old tag applied for on the back of my car, and I'm going 90 through there, is that going to be picked up and have the same chance of being cited as someone who's legal with a regular tag on the car?
If the tag can be ran through the DOR, yes, same as with a live police officer there. And that's 99.99% of them. There certainly could be a plate.
And if I'm leasing a car, where does the ticket go?
It will go to that owner of the car, and then they'll sign a document transferring it.
I gotcha.
To you.
And what court do these tickets go to?
Same court as an officer written ticket here would be.
And we don't even have a municipal court functioning, do we, right now?
No, but this would go to state court
Right.
if it's in.
Yeah, for the county would be state. Henry County, et cetera, do that. And good questions, Commissioner. About
So-
3% or less, about 2% actually, are being contested.
Right.
Throughout the
But
state.
still, if if increase in traffic cases go to state court, that's another unfunded mandate on the county for an additional magistrate to handle the volume of this. Because these monies don't go back into the general fund as other fines and forfeitures do. The normal tickets that our officers are writing, I love to see the funding go to law enforcement, don't get me wrong, but none of this funding is going to the courts either to help with the
No,
increased
and you're
volume.
absolutely correct on that, Commissioner. My only counter to that, and you're the governing body, it's your decision on this, is again, it's usually, in fact, in most places it's 1%, or so it's a very small amount. And I would argue, and that's a great point you made, I would argue the dramatic improvement in child safety would make up for that small 1% extra workload on the court, but that's your all's decision.
I would think too that most people would just go ahead and just pay it.
Well, the reason, it said 99% are not going to court. And the reason for that, at least our theory would be, there's compelling visual evidence. Most people are good people, not all, but most feel bad they're speeding in front of the school and want to modify their behavior. I said 97% are not getting a second citation. You do have evidence you wouldn't have in a normal hearing. Normal hearing, it's the very trusted officer, but his or her word. Here's video evidence. And it's a $75 fine versus probably a $300 fine for an officer written ticket. And there's no points or insurance by law. So there will absolutely be some work on the court. I would not want to dismiss Commissioner Gray's concern, but it's minimal, and I believe the trade-off is worth it. That's our opinion.
May I ask a different question? Oh, sorry, Commissioner Gaines, you had a question?
Yes, please, thanks. You may not be able to hear me, because
I can hear you, ma'am.
Okay.
it
Thank
was
you.
not on. Exactly where are we in Dougherty County where are we in the process here in Dougherty?
We've had initial discussions with the police department, but I don't want to speak for the chief, but Chief Irving and Chief Johnson, but initial discussions, I think they're aware that Albany has done it and has received some feedback from them and have brought it to you all before electing to move forward. That's my belief. I mean, we've discussed it with the police department, but not in significant detail.
I have a question.
Commissioner Jones?
I see you addressing school zones here. What about in the unincorporated areas? What about outside of school zones? We had someone to come to us 2 years ago. We should have already been on board with this if we're going to get on board late. But I just want to know, what do you have for outside of school zones?
The statute only allows enforcement, an automated ticket being written in the school zone during the school days, which I've talked about. Now, we have had other departments utilize that funding to hire another officer to patrol in other areas, to have cameras out there for educational purposes, things. There's a lot you can do with the funding, and there's a lot of technology out there, but just so I'm clear, a citation can only be issued in the school zone.
Okay, thank you.
School safety program.
So that's interesting to me. So when you've partnered with other police departments, I'm assuming from a booking and accounting perspective, each month y'all produce some sort of report. Y'all actually collect, y'all perform collections too, correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Okay, so then there's an accounting that goes, is it capable of being audited in real time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And so then those funds are, I guess, reconciled monthly or
Yeah,
quarterly?
monthly.
Okay.
The
And
revenue, and this may be more, I didn't mean to interrupt you, sir.
No, go ahead.
Maybe more in the weeds than you want, but revenue that comes in the month of April is distributed to the city or county May 15th.
Total, Got it. Okay, so it's then transmitted to the jurisdiction. I'm assuming it goes back to the fiscal agent for the county or the city.
Yeah, the treasurer, CFO, whatever the entity, however it's set up.
And so then and I don't know if you know the answer to this, I would presume that they then have to set up a segregated account.
That is desirable.
In order to meet the mandates that the funds can only be used for a particular purpose.
That's correct. And the exact wording of the law, and again, not to get too granular, but to help you make the best decision you could, it's local law enforcement or public safety initiatives is the exact wording in the law. So jurisdictions have interpreted that fairly broadly, but the big inference is not to the general fund, something to do with public safety.
All right, so let me pivot to a different question. Given y'all are in the data business, y'all obviously target, I would presume, you target certain areas based on traffic count and the fact that there's a school zone.
That there's a problem to be solved, right? Because we're making an investment.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. It's a public-private partnership. I understand it. But I mean, at the end of the day, there is a revenue and profit.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And we'll go way down. We're in the ironic business. The better we do, the less we make. But that's what makes the next jurisdiction interested in it. But yes.
Yeah. So, do you have information that you can or would share with us that would give us some comps on what we could expect? Because I'm presuming or assuming that you know what the traffic count is for the proposed areas that you would be proposing to us, and you've got data from other jurisdictions that shows what the graph looks like in terms of revenue over a 6, 9, 12, 18-month period.
We certainly could do that. We position it first and foremost as you are as well. It's a safety program, but it's a fact revenue will be generated for that law. So yes, we can.
And what I'm driving at is, okay, goal one, make sure that the school area is safer. Goal two would then be you're generating additional revenue for a specific purpose that's for a public purpose. What does that revenue look like? And how could we, what could we potentially do with that? Does that mean?
Yeah, for your planning purposes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, does it mean we then say to our police chief, hey, it would be really, really, really nice if we had, some guys with the really good radar machines and work in the high traffic areas, because those tickets, one, those are unsafe areas, and we've got several in the unincorporated county, and B, it does generate revenue for the general fund. So that's what I'm trying to get.
Well, the direct answer is yes, we can do that. I
Okay.
should have been a little more direct with that answer.
got
But I
you.
wanted to give you some context.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious about what we could potentially do with that, and I'm assuming that that's pretty broad language, actually. Have any jurisdictions utilized that as for pay raises?
Not that I'm aware of, not raises. I believe some
You
personnel
get
costs.
a really bad ethical area, when I'm in working healthcare by day, but for a software or a collection agency to also decide how much how to code a medical visit and then collect a % of collections on there is an ethical area that is generally firewalled. My problem with this is it's a closed loop. You have our sworn police officers who are looking at video determining whether or not it is in fact a ticket, but they get paid for every positive. So there is an implicit bias to issue a citation.
Yeah, I'm cognizant of that as well.
I would say you could, and hopefully I don't believe your officers would do that. They would have the same ability on the road, et cetera. You have to have
Yeah.
trust in your officers.
Right.
Yeah.
It's-
Right, but that officer stopping someone speeding in a school zone can also check for car seat violations, can also check for expired licenses.
That's exactly right. And we never would position this. This is a complement to live enforcement, not a replacement. But the sad fact is, not only Dougherty County, Atlanta PD, Alpharetta PD, nobody has enough officers to be out at a percentage of the time when school's in session. That's just
Right.
a reality.
But I also don't want to deploy a predatory business model on our citizens just to generate revenue.
Well, I would argue strongly, very respectfully, predatory is way out of line.
Yeah.
I understand, all good concepts and certainly an area for additional
You finished?
debate. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Evans?
Yeah, I guess the main thing, if we go back to last week when Mr. Art Brown came, in reference to, because when I asked Mr. McCoy to have someone come and speak, it was, my interest was at that particular time, I guess, with the neighborhood, on do you have any other monitors besides this? Because the concern of the citizen was the tractor trailers always coming on the street. So then, does your system have capabilities of not just, because you're saying, when school is out, we're not using them, weekends, we're not using them.
Well-
And so that citizens, that community concern is the tractor trailer. So does your system, or do you have another system?
Well, good questions. Couple things that, just for clarification, only speeding is enforced during the school day, but that notifying the police of sex offenders, Amber Alert, the video live for crash reproduction, et cetera, investigation, that's 24/7, 365 at no cost to the
So
county.
it would track, we have our no truck sign, that system, would
No,
it track that?
this only goes in school zones.
Yeah, if a truck was in the school zone, they could notify you of
See
that.
that, so you don't have any other
Well,
system?
we could deploy a system, absolutely. This system is very capable of that, but it would be an out-of-pocket cost, maybe through the fine revenue or something, but no tickets can be
So what I'm
issued.
saying, say if we bought a system from you, and we want to place the system on a specific area in the unincorporated area, could we do that?
Absolutely.
Would it monitor?
It would monitor it. I would have to defer to your counsel. My general belief would be that you couldn't do an automated citation. You could provide evidence to the police department, and they could act on it.
Because that's where the problem is. Go ahead. Yeah, I'll submit, go ahead. I'm finished. That was it. That was really
Thank you.
bringing it down to how did the
It
conversation
can, it can
actually-
help solve a lot of problems.
Because I would, okay.
Commissioner Gaines?
State law allows us to place cameras for speeding purposes on local streets, on state streets.
Any school zone.
Only in the school zone.
Yeah, I know, so that's why I'm raising the question.
Yeah, so we can, so if I get with the commission, open up a conversation on Lily Pond, that's where he lives. So if you put one at the end of Lily Pond, we can't do
That's the
that.
point.
You
That's
can't write a
exactly-
ticket based off that
Yeah, so,
information.
It wouldn't help that way, right?
yeah, that's kind of the question.
You can
put a
provide
trail camera
evidence
there
to the
and then-
police, but you can't write a ticket just off of that video.
Right.
I understand.
But one thing that I do think
Will
would
it
help.
take pictures of a tractor trailer? Will
Yes.
it automatically does that?
Yeah, it will absolutely take pictures. And then another thing that could help, a lot of us said this is very much a complement to lab enforcement, not a replacement for excellent police department. That stats are provided through our system each day of speeds by hour, high, low, median, and often departments will use that at a time to place officer enforcement out there as a complement to ours, and that can be used similar to the scenario you've talked about, where statistics could be provided to the police every morning from 7 to 8. There's a truck doing 80 miles per hour, put an officer out there with a radar or a laser.
So to sum up, there is the ability to automatically generate a ticket through statutory authorization from the state in a school zone. Whether or not a local government decides to utilize this technology in other areas other than a school zone is totally up to it. And it's then the decision of law enforcement as to whether or not that presents enough evidence
Right.
to move forward, but it's not going to generate a ticket. I then, frankly, asked the question of myself, how hard is it in this day and age to purchase, what's the capital investment on essentially what's a baseball jugs machine and a camera? I'm assuming it's a decent investment, and obviously y'all have to have pretty heavily encrypted software, privacy, et cetera.
And that question comes up occasionally, and it certainly makes sense from fiduciary aspect. It's incredibly complex. There's not a jurisdiction in the country operating this themselves.
I got you.
Of any size.
Understood. But it raises, I think I'm trying to drive at the heart of what Commissioner Edwards was getting at is how many things can you utilize this tool for? And I think my suspicion is in about 12 to 24 months is that the marketplace is going to become more accepting of this type of enforcement. I saw an interesting documentary the other day on a lot of this, but
there have been a lot of public comments on it that most importantly, improving school zone safety, which everybody is for. How you get there, but everybody wants to protect the children. This is the most effective and cost-effective way to do it, and proven. But also the fairness aspect, and unfortunately the day we live in, the cameras don't know ethnicity, location, gender, socioeconomic status. It can reduce contacts during COVID. There's a lot of ancillary benefits in addition to the core.
have y'all actually seen an increase? Because my observation, whether true or not, is that generally speaking, we don't have a lot of kids that walk to school anymore. And I don't know if there is any data, whether it's even, you can even find it. Is that because it's unsafe to walk in the school zone, or is that simply because culturally speaking, we don't walk very much anymore?
No, I don't have empirical data. I concur pedestrian traffic is down. A core benefit of this is protecting pedestrians, but those are school zones by GDOT for a reason. You still, with buses, stop to turn, et cetera. You don't want dramatic speeding.
You still have a lot of children arriving at one place, and you don't want people speeding in that area. Whether they hit a child that's in a car or not in a car, you still don't want that happening. I wrap my mind around that.
May I?
Yes, Commissioner Gaines.
One final question. Mr. Chair, were you saying that Georgia law allows us to place cameras for whatever purpose on any public right-of-way within our jurisdiction, although not for the purposes of issuing a speed ticket? You cannot use it to issue a speed ticket, but you can place a camera anywhere you'd like inside the jurisdiction.
If it came across as a statement, it was more as sort of a rhetorical, I was sort of asking the question, because I was trying to drive at what I think you're driving at. And I don't know the answer precisely, but what I'm gathering from what this gentleman has told us is that you are capable of leveraging the technology outside of a school zone, but it doesn't have specific legislative authorization to automatically generate a ticket. I would presume that you still have to get GDOT authorization. You got to go through some I would assume you have to jump through some regulatory hoops, and I don't know whether or not, our police chief could speak on that at a later date, but it does seem to me like there's been less of a playing field opened by the legislature, and my read on this is the legislature sort of sticking its toe in the swimming pool and starting out with the area that's most politically acceptable, which is the school zone. So they're sort of test driving it there, not trying to be punny, but yeah. Does that answer your question?
Well, as far as you are aware, there's no law prohibiting local governments.
I think that's right, but
If I could opine, most local governments, and I refer to your police staff that's here, but I happen to know from Albany, because we already live there, that they have cameras, ALPR cameras in other high traffic areas of the city that, as does almost every jurisdiction in Georgia. So it's fairly common. And if it is on a state route, you would need a GDOT permit. Local, probably not, but you absolutely can do it.
But from a civil liberties perspective, you can't just put up a camera anywhere looking at anything, because if you put it up in high crime areas, now you're targeting areas that have high crime, and that is a bias that every camera is an invasion of privacy to some degree.
Is that true though? Because I was, and I'm asking the question.
Well, you can put them up, but it needs to be a permanent fixture. You can't just move cameras around to, this area today and this area tomorrow. You have to be very careful about whose window you can see through that.
I understand.
And whose backyard you can see into. So it has to be a very fixed scope, a very purposeful and deliberate deployment of cameras
But
for a
is public
specific.
safety a legitimate reason to deploy this technology along any public space?
But how much would one of your systems cost out of pocket?
If you could answer that.
Depending on what you needed, you would not need the ability to print mail, et cetera. So generally about $2,500 a year for an ALPR camera.
So if we wanted to buy one outright, how much would the system cost?
If you wanted the printing, mailing, the whole deal.
No, if I just wanted to buy the camera, radar, setup.
If you needed the radar too, 50 grand probably, including construction. Construction's the biggest expense.
Understood.
Do we have cameras deployed?
Yeah,
As does almost every jurisdiction in Georgia.
Does Dougherty County?
we don't have any, I would also say respectfully, in terms of the unincorporated, probably don't have the demand that a more urban area would. My understanding is that it's sort of a different application. A lot of more metropolitan areas, more urban areas that do have high crime areas, they'll sometimes utilize what are called pole cams and target certain activity in those areas. And even some of, I was watching an interesting episode on this the other day, that a lot of them utilize face recognition software in connection with things other than traffic. I think that's, I don't know that our needs in the unincorporated county really demand that level of technological investment.
And I don't know that either.
Yeah.
Literally, our main goal or desire, I am sure, based on your police input and what we've seen in Albany, there is a significant speeding issue during the day
Sure.
in front of the schools. And that's the main thing we would definitely help you solve at no cost. And then the other areas, we would do what we can based on your direction in the police
So
department.
right now, as far as this body is concerned, our interest is simply in the school zones and not outside of the school zones. Am I correct, Mr. Chair?
That's how I would interpret this. And what I'd like to do is have an opportunity to digest this information and maybe then follow up and get the thoughts of the chief. Not today. I'd like to digest this information and maybe hear back from the chief about what his recommendations are.
But just for clarity, the reason we're being approached with this solution is because Commissioner Edwards was concerned about tractor trailers on Lily Pond Road.
Which is a
No-
different concern
Yeah.
than what we're.
This is a solution for a problem we have not determined we have.
Right, this really wasn't the concern, it was like, by talking to Mr. McCoy, it was like, well, I'll bring him in and we ask him the questions and see if he fit our need.
Right.
So it's kind of like, I think we're limited, because we don't really, I'm not saying we don't have that problem. We are concerned about the school zone, but I don't think we have that vast amount of challenges in our school zone. So that's kind of where the conversation.
I understand. I think this is all good information for us to digest, and thank you very much for your presentation.
welcome.
Certainly,
Great information.
certainly educated us all a lot, and I anticipate on a forward-moving basis, we're going to have to make some decisions relative to this area.
No, and I appreciate your time. I know you have a lot going on. What could be the next step? There's no hard sell here.
Sure.
But what is required by GDOT and the Dougherty County school system is the problem has to be documented, and you as elected leaders would want that. For instance, in Albany, the process was we ran a system for a day and documented the number of speeders 11 over. And I would be happy to do that for you all, and that might give you context.
Yeah, no, I think that's all good information, and I'm going to make a note to get a follow-up from Mr. McCoy on this issue at a later date. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thanks, sir.
All right. Any other delegations that did not previously sign up that wish to be heard at this time? All right, let's move on. Recommendation to purchase 2 speed display signs for the Dougherty County Police Department from the lowest quoted vendor, RU2 Systems, Inc., out of Mesa, Arizona, in the amount of $24,002.70. The speed display signs will be used to reduce speeding in the unincorporated area of the county. Funding is available in the general fund. Mr. McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are recommending the approval of the purchase of 2 speed detection trailers for the use in the unincorporated area. We have received numerous complaints in the unincorporated area about speeding on various roads. Commissioner Edwards and one of his constituents, Mr. Brown, was here last week, and we talked about the recommendation for the purchase of this technology to help us with enforcement in the unincorporated area. They do have the technology, I understand, I don't know if we're recommending the Cadillac version or not. Chief Urban is more familiar with the specifications here, but there is technology that can be applied to the trailers that will give you video footage and capture a lot of data that will help them with enforcement, as the presenter just mentioned. So it can tell you when you have speeding issues, and so they can send officers out at that time. I'm not sure about this, but I'm assuming you guys could capture or recognize when 18-wheelers are on particular roads at a particular time, and I guess the license plate reader can tell you this particular truck comes by every day at 2 o'clock, and so that would give you the information that you would need to better enforce the traffic violations.
Yes, there is a option that has a camera on it, it has a radar detector in it, and it has a tag with it. And so wherever we set it up at, you would be able to capture the video. So if there's an area there that tractor trailers were, we have to tractor trailers in there, then you could set the speed trailer. It has a camera, and it can actually show you real-time video, date and time that this tractor trailer is coming through. It has a tag reader that can pick up the tag and actually give you information on who that tractor trailer belongs to, the actual company. And they would contact the company and say, your tractor trailer was seen traveling in a no-truck zone at whatever date and whatever time, and we can't issue a citation based off of the video footage. As far as speeding, it has a radar detector, and an officer will have to physically go in and check those speeds. And as long as we get that radar detector calibrated yearly, then we can actually issue citations if it's calibrated year for year.
But that's not a feature of what you're recommending here today, is it?
Is that a feature of what?
Or any of those features that she just discussed, are they a part of?
They're not a part of the one that we were recommending,
Right.
but listening to what you all were saying, there's a different option that we can go to that has all of that included.
I think it's a little more expensive, but
Yeah.
that's.
Yeah, well, I mean.
Do y'all want to get a side-by-side comparison of those different costs?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I think before we just jump into costs, we got to identify a need. Is our need to generate revenue from tickets and cite people, or is it a need to change driver behavior? Because if it's driver behavior, sometimes the pole-mounted speed sensing signs that flash your speed as you come by, which is what the trailer is, just a mobile version of that. That is a great attention getter. And that is something that really keeps traffic in check, because in today's distracted environment, people aren't always cognizant of exactly where they are on the road and what the speed limit is, but something that catches their attention and reminds them that they are the one going 15 miles an hour over the posted speed limit. They better slow the butt down, because now you're looking around to see where the police are, right? Because gosh, I'm in violation. So, my point is there are other solutions that can be just as comprehensive and effective, and it's about changing driver behaviors. Number one is making them aware that they're in violation. 45 miles an hour seems like a snail's pace in today's fast-paced society. People going down Gideonville and Westover are doing 70 and 80 miles an hour and trying to do 45 mile an hour speed limit. You feel like you're unsafe. It's about like doing the speed limit on 285 in Atlanta. It just doesn't. It feels unsafe. But my point is, I get the mobile speed sensing trailers. I think those can be used in areas that are problematic. Does it solve the tractor trailer problem? No. But Georgia DOT has their transportation division that specifically targets violations on tractor trailers and any commercial vehicles. So coordinating some efforts with them to pull over tractor trailers who are going through a no truck zone, that is a great deterrent for commercial drivers. Also, as we notice which corporations are doing that, let's bring that information back and go to the owners of those businesses and say, it's got to stop or we will stop it. And that's, to me, a much more collaborative and effective way to do it than just spending money and deploying technology out there that may or may not have the intended result.
If I could be clear, it appears to me that there were two specific issues that were brought to our attention, specifically along Lily Pond. And the first one was speeding. That's what this proposed purchase addresses, or attempts to address, to try to quail or abate some of the speeding that's taking place there. The second issue was the presence of tractor-trailer trucks. And we have not addressed how to do that, but it appears to me that, because it happened in my district, we had police stationed along that route where they were cutting through a neighborhood. I don't know if we have actually, and it seems to me that that's an effective solution to station a couple of cops along Lily Pond a few times. And if those guys get cited a few times going through there, then your problem may have been addressed. So if we could look at the item we have in front of us, number one, and number two, look at actually stationing a policeman there for the specific purpose of tractor trailers coming through. So, and if I may,
Yes,
another
ma'am.
question I pose to the staff regarding this proposed purchase is, why are we getting the money from the general fund rather than the special services
Yeah,
district?
I'm glad you noticed that. I was going to mention it should be the special services district. That was oversight. It'll be corrected
Sure.
for the regular meeting.
Thank you. I want to piggyback on what Commissioner Gaines just said here, because here's the deal, folks. They got these canisters, we got these things sitting up, folk running by them all the time, running 70 miles an hour. You hear it saying beep, 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 beep. This is the same thing they tell you that you're going too fast when it goes, but you gotta have some deterrence. We gotta have some live folk out there. I see sometimes we see a dummy car sitting out there. It's just like a bird going into a house, going into your barn. After so long, the owl is there, but then the bird said that, well, the owl is in the same place all the time. So the bird's smart enough to know that they need to keep, they say after a period of time, we can go in and that thing's still not moving, and then they go in and build nests anyway. So that's what I'm gonna say about this thing here. We gotta have some folks out there in some cars running radar, and I know we're short-staffed, but But you gotta set an example on somebody. You gotta hit them in the pocketbook because all they run by these little things is beeping all the time. So I have a hard time with this device here.
So, what I'd like to do, we're gonna bring this back. I'd like to get a specific, I think our law enforcement folks have been here. They've heard feedback from a variety of different standpoints. I'd like to get some recommendations from law enforcement with an eye towards, I mean, y'all have better information than we do. We get the complaints, and y'all also have folks in patrol cars that can go out and observe things. Y'all also know how many tickets you're writing. Y'all also are presumably checking the specs on these things and on the proposed purchases. And so I'd like to get a presentation at the next, the regular session so that we can consider y'all's recommendations, and if there are multiple options that y'all recommend, or if they're not, whatever. I totally agree with Commissioner Edwards that we got a problem out on Lily Pond, we got a problem in a couple other places. The thing that is attractive to me about these capital investments are that they're mobile, so that they can be moved around. I totally understand what Commissioner Jones is talking about, which is you can't leave it in a particular area for too long, otherwise it just becomes like decoration. And if you don't write somebody a ticket, then it becomes a joke, and your 19-year-old driving the Trans Am is going to literally go, well, let me see how fast I can go this week.
See, will it pick me up at 120 miles?
Yeah, it's like, I haven't gotten a ticket yet, but I'm going to hit 120 going around this curve. So I get all that. Y'all are in the law enforcement business. We're not. We're in the citizen business. If you could get us some recommendations.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Joe, one thing I'd just like to commend you as well as the chief, just like Commissioner Jones was saying, when me as one commissioner, when I do call, you guys do respond, even, with the dummy call, but just like John said, once they get used to it, and then they, the consistency is what I see is lacking with the county police. Now, I would like the chairman say, when you do come back, if you need officers to show us how many officers you do need per zone to cover the mileage that you have to cover. Okay, I think, because that's the only thing gonna happen with the consistency part. Because like we did the dummy cars on Lily Pond, and it worked. But then all of a sudden we moved it to Holly Drive. It worked. But then when the person left Lily Pond and saw it on Holly, he like, well, hey, it's gone. So again, the consistency, and it might be it might be the manpower. And I see Mr. Ed Walls is here, and this is a different conversation, but then we might have to come up with some incentive to how do we recruit, the officers that help you do the job in an effective way.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Newsom.
Yeah, in my district, Byron Plantation, I probably get the most complaints of anything is Byron Plantation. It's a long road.
Yep.
It's 45 miles an hour, and it is a cut through for your tractor trailers. And
There are a lot of people that cycle over there too.
Yeah.
I have a lot of cyclists that have been run off the road.
Yeah, we have a real problem with that, and the concern that I have is that a lot of this happens in the middle of the night. A lot of it happens speeding. I mean, I promise you, when the deer are in the rut, you got a problem there. I know that we can't do anything about it. We can slow people down, and we can get those tractor trailers off. That's what we've got to do. You got to do it on Holly. You got to do it on Lily Pond, and anywhere else that we got a problem.
Question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Gaines.
I'm curious, Mr. McCoy, to what degree do we vet these recommendations before they come before us? Can we consider that this is indeed a recommendation and all eyes have been on it on your staff, such that they think that this is something that this community should undertake? Do you actually vet it, or does someone just request that it be considered? Or does it happen in both cases? Is this the staff's recommendation?
This is the staff's recommendation.
And it's been fully vetted
It has been fully vetted
by the police?
by the police, including our neighboring local unit of government, the city of Albany's police chief has been engaged. They have this device, and it has been very effective. And of course, this was initiated by a complaint, several complaints from commissioners in their districts as related to speeding that they've received from their constituents. And so this is one tool, probably of many, but we do, as staff, recommend this, and there is evidence that it is effective.
This is the top priority for speed control. I'm sorry?
Well, I think that what we're saying is we're not trying to replace the actual officer running traffic and running radar. It's only a tool to assist us or to assist. You have one officer or two officers working a zone, they can only be in one place at one time. And our main priority would be the calls for service. So if they're handling the call for service or they're running traffic in another area, then that's a tool that we can use in one area. We can use it to see if there is an actual validation to a complaint. Somebody may say that, hey, I see tractor trailers on Branch Road is one that we got a lot of complaints on. And so we can actually sit it out there just to see if there is actual tractor trailers that are traveling up and down Branch Road. It's not to replace a physical officer working traffic or out there monitoring the area. It's just a tool that will
Are you
assist.
saying that this proposed display sign can tell you whether or not there are tractor trailers
Yes.
on Lily Pond? It will have, what detects that?
One of the options, and as Mr. McCoy mentioned, the city of Albany has one that has cameras, it has radars, and it has a tag reader attached to that speed trailer. And so we can go back in and monitor the footage from that trailer and see what's actually going on.
Yeah, but
in
this
the area.
one, the one that
The
you're.
one that we have, that we provided here don't. But listening to the issues and the questions to the guy from Red Speed, we can go back with a solution that would actually fit what you all are asking for.
Well, I agree with Mr. Chair that we need to just fully explore this issue before we make a decision about
So
this.
we're very much aware of the version that the city has and chose to bring to you the most cost-effective solution, which was the cheapest solution.
I understood.
But after hearing the discussion, it sounds like the more appropriate solution is the one that the city has.
Depending on the
We'll
cost.
bring that to you. Yes, it's more expensive. It's about $35,000. So in total, we're looking at 70-something thousand.
And I just want us to be able to talk through what each widget does.
Right.
And if it seems like a good fit, then great. If it's not, then no sweat.
Right.
That's why we have conversations.
Right.
So,
And let me say something about Branch Road. I was in on that one because of the fact that Georgia Pacific is out there in that area. And those trucks, they just happen to run around the back of Georgia Pacific in the first place when they come out, instead of going down 82, which where the DOT is mostly just quick for them to just run across Branch Road. But we asked the chief to put a sign out there. Okay, chief put a big sign out there, no trucks. And we had Public Works, got Public Works involved, but then after we went out there with this no truck sign, we got word to Georgia Pacific that, look, we're not going to allow you all to come across there. But then also, the most important thing that was done out there was when you sat a person out there, and then they started writing those tickets on them, giving these fellas a ticket on those CDLs. They get on the CD, on the CB and tell folk that, look, you better not go down Lily Pond, you better not go down Holly Drive, you got to be there. Now, I don't know what the chief method was, but I tell you what, we don't have that problem anymore, but I do know that we had had a physical car out there putting tickets on them for about a couple of weeks. So then the words get around, you got to stay off Lily Pond, you got to stay off Holly, and certainly you don't better not go down Branch Road. That's what's going to have to happen. I mean, if we, you know, for a small period of time, these things you're moving around, they're fine, but I wouldn't, I'm just not, I'm not with them. I just think we just got to figure out a way. Cause do you all have the manpower to go in and retrieve the data? Because you got to get somebody to go in there. And so if you're shorthanded now, you're going to be shorthanded then. So are you going to have somebody to go in and retrieve the data? So that's what I'm saying. If we can put some tickets in some folks, hit some folks in the pocketbook, and put a point or two on those CDLs, I think we can get these 18-wheelers under control in Dougherty County.
I think to Commissioner Jones's point, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, one of the benefits of having this is the data, because we are short-staffed, and that's, police officers across the country are short-staffed. That's just a fact. And, but the data will actually let you know what areas are speeding a lot so that we can actually sit folks out there and write tickets, generate revenue, and curb behavior more precisely, as opposed to just going and throwing your hook in the middle of the water, as opposed to throwing it where the fish are. If that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
All right.
Yeah, but
Hey,
most of the
one
complaints
last
that you are going to
point,
get is going to be from, I mean, the residents are going to let you know where these folks are speeding. That's how Commissioner Edwards wasn't out there. Commissioner Gaines wasn't out on Holly Drive. Those neighbors, those folks, those constituents, they're going to call you and tell you where they're having these problems at. I mean, that's what they do for me. I mean, they call me, and tell me. That's how I knew they was going down Branch Road. I got 20 or 30 calls from everybody down Branch Road. Then I called the chief and Public Works, and that's what our solution was. So that's how you're going to know.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Seeing as how the city has a couple of these already, if they're not deployed all the time, could you, as our county law enforcement representatives, see if we can try it before we buy it, and see if we can have them deploy the cameras here?
I'll answer that question. That's why we're here. We did call. They're theirs and they're using it. So
Yeah.
you
I
got
just
to
didn't know
get
if-
your own.
They're going to let you use them anyway.
All right, understood.
Yeah.
This horse has been kicked enough. We're going to move on. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right. Recommendation to accept the quote to install a new HVAC system as part of the SPLOS renovation project for the Facilities Management Department from Safe Air Heating and Cooling out of Albany, Georgia, in the amount of $47,132. 3 quotes were received, with the highest being $49,939.56. Funding is budgeted in SPLOS 6 and 7. Mr. Addison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. This is part of the Facilities Management Building renovation. A while back, we brought the contract for the actual structural work, and this is for the upgrades to the HVAC system that will go along with it. We recommend approval.
Excellent. All right. Any comments, questions, or discussion? All right, let's move on. Additional business recommendation to declare the listed equipment as surplus and authorize the disposal of same. This is the first listing of furniture and equipment damaged by water in the Judicial Building. Mr. Addison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the furniture and equipment that is not salvageable. So instead of moving them into storage and then bringing it to a later date, we'd like to go ahead and surplus it so that we can get rid of it.
Understood. Any comments, questions, or discussion?
Are we selling stuff or are we trashing?
This stuff will be disposed of, yes, sir.
Trash.
Yes, sir.
Recommendation to accept the resolution declaring a 2014 F-250 from the Dougherty County Police Department as surplus and authorize the sale through Underwriters Safety and Claims. Mr. Addison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the animal control vehicle that was involved in an accident and was totaled. So this is standard procedure so that we can get the insurance claim money back and then purchase a new truck.
Comments, questions, or discussion? All right, thank you. Recommendation from Finance Committee to amend the coroner's budget by $24,475. The amended budget will increase to $236,006 from $211,531. Chairman Newsom of the Finance Committee, please.
Yes, this is for a amended budget. The coroner is out of money. And this has been a pattern. And so we can't go through life without paying our bills. But we need to hold the coroner accountable for his budget.
Understand. Okay, comments, questions, or discussion? All right, let's move on. Mr. McCoy.
Yes, a reminder and observance of Memorial Day holiday on Monday, May 31st, 2021. There will not be a scheduled meeting held. The next meeting will be held on June 7th, 2021.
Yes.
At room 100.
All right. Okay, Mr. McCoy. I'm sorry, Mr. Fowler. Go ahead. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
To the commissioners.
Good to see you.
Can I make a statement relating to the financial recommendation? When I was elected by the citizens of Dougherty County, I made a promise to take Dougherty County Coroner's Office to the next level for the betterment of our community. I worked hard, diligently, tirelessly to fulfill the promise to take the Coroner's Office to the next level. I feel that my action and service have proven that I've done that. Through 2020 and 2021, we endured a massive effort of COVID-19. We dealt with the largest number of unfortunate deaths in our community due to COVID-19. In fact, for several months, our country, I say our county, our city, have had one of the highest number of COVID deaths per capita in the world. On top of COVID, we still have to handle the death, homicide, the suicide, drug overdose, and natural causes. The coroner office did not have a budget in place to handle regular calls plus a disaster of this magnitude, COVID-19. It had been my determination to make sure the coroner's office performed to the most of its ability with integrity, professionalism, even with the weight of the pandemic. I personally received 100% of the death calls to my cell phone. And of those calls, I personally respond to approximately 80% of those calls, which total 500 calls. Working long hours, late nights, with little sleep and no sleep sometimes, which have taken a toll mentally and physically on me. I need help. I cannot move Albany forward without adequate help. Part of moving Albany to the next level is to assure that we have all the resources needed to assure our future endeavors. I don't have a full-time deputy like other cities that handle just as many calls or cases as we do. My deputy coroners are part-time. Their primary job is outside of the coroner's office. They are compensated per call, whether it's working a case or going on morgue trips to release the bodies or receive bodies. The additional fund requested needed for morgue compensation is what I'm asking. Since 2017, my office has been charged with releasing bodies from the morgue and was given compensation for that also during that time. Without funds, we may have no additional help with releasing and receiving bodies, which can delay EMS from delivering bodies to the morgue, funeral home from receiving the bodies, and GBI crime lab from receiving bodies. I would love for you to consider the budget that I have submitted, which include morgue trip compensation for my deputy coroners. I would like to thank you, commissioners, for your time consideration of the budget amendment. I agree with everything that's been presented to you about from the Finance Committee. Why compensation is needed for morgue trip? Morgue trip are important because myself or my deputy coroner have to open the morgue to release bodies to funeral home, to GBI, crime lab, for EMS to place bodies into the morgue. History. In the past, Phoebe Putnam Hospital, their security have and would always release bodies from the morgue for over 44 years. Matter of fact, in the past, Coroner Bucky Brookshaw, Coroner James Austin Taylor, Coroner Emma Quimley, they had never had to go out to the morgue to release bodies to the crime lab for EMS to put the body in or for funeral home. Even in my first 5 years in office, I didn't never have to do that. Even when I've been a mortician since 1986, working for funeral home. We always call security and tell them we're picking up a body. Coroners never had to go release bodies to the funeral home. I work for the GBI crime lab. I transport bodies to the crime lab. I never had to call a coroner to release a body to me. I always called security. They released the body to me to transport to the crime lab. I believe this should continue to be a compensation for a trip for the coroners, deputy coroners, and responsibility for releasing bodies. Again, I need help. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Fowler. All right, Mr. McCoy.
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
All right, and I see a note in observance of the Memorial Day holiday on Monday, May 31st, 2021. There will not be a scheduled meeting held. The next meeting will be June 7th. And an update from the County Commission reminded everybody the Finance Committee will meet in room 120 immediately following this work session to continue discussion of the proposed fiscal year 22 budget for the general fund. Before I turn things over, I did want to acknowledge Commissioner Johnson, whose daughter graduated from high school. And congratulations to her. And also recognize Commissioner Jones, who had a successful cleanup program in District 6 this past Saturday. Thank you very much. And this time, I'm going to, after making those acknowledgments, I'm going to ask Commissioner Newsom.
Nothing further.
Gotcha. Commissioner Jones?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I may, the District 6 trash roundup, clean up your area, it was totally a success, and I really have to tip my hat to Commissioner Edwards. He's that handy commissioner that's always going to be ready to help you pick up a shovel and do something. Commissioner Gaines, she's going to make sure that we get it out there, and I just want to tell them that they are friends of District 6. And we had a good day, according to Judy Bowles of the Clean Community, which we partnered with. She said there was 127 folks that signed up. I haven't confirmed these numbers yet, but I do know that we were all over District 6 this weekend picking up trash with this District 6 roundup. And also I want to say, last week I did a piece on promoting the landfill to try to discourage people from dropping trash all over the roads and so forth. And I was just having to be scanning the squawk box, and I want to share with you, this is from someone in the squawk box, what they're saying about our landfill. And this person said, just had my first experience hauling refuse to Dougherty County landfill. It's way, way out there, but once on the property, it was quite nice, well cared for. The personnel on the site were very courteous, knowledgeable, and efficient. All in all, a good experience, and I'll be back. Now, this is what I thought, by promoting this with Channel 10 to let folk know where our landfill is. Certainly, it's way out there, but certainly they'll let you dump 250 pounds of trash any day of the week. So it's worth the trip because of the fact that we have to tip our hat to our folks out at the county landfill, and I wish you let them know about this, because this person is going to tell somebody, and then I think that once this thing happens, I think we'll see less trash on the roads when these folks find out that they can go way out there and dump 250 pounds a day. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Gaines.
Nothing, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Edwards. Nothing, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, sir. Thank you for congratulating my daughter, but I want to congratulate all of the Dougherty County graduates from this weekend. They did a really good job.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gray.
Nothing further.
All right. We're adjourned.